All right, with Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade finally releasing everywhere out in the world from Japan to the US, I think now is finally a time to discuss something very important about this game, about how long this game is going to be around for in stores. In stores? On the iOS and Android stores. So let's get right into it. And personally, there are two paths that this game can take. And one path is the good one to where it's around for like 5 or 6 years. You know, they do everything right and it's around for a really long time. And then there's the bad path to where the game is only around for a year. And I'm going to discuss both, but let's start with the good path. So, if they do things correctly with the good path, that means that they basically, if the game doesn't sell, you know, they release a character and the character doesn't do that well, they don't decide to basically be like, well, guys, we released this character. You can use your imagination. We released this character and it didn't sell well. Well, you know what that means? Like, that's the bad path. What? It's a bad path that they could do, because this isn't made by Bandai Namco. This is made by a new company, so we don't know much about. Hold on, before I say that. Okay, so Bandai Namco is in fact not the author of this game. It is Bilibili HK Limited, and at least on iOS, they only have 4 games. So we can't really say much about their try history, or at least I can't, because they only have 4 games. So if they do fumble with this one, and for some reason they decide to make another mobile game, I think it would have a lot of people not want to play it, because they would harken back to being like, oh, this is the same company that made Phantom Parade, and then, you know, the game died within a month or a year or so, which I honestly don't think that it will die within a year, because Jujutsu Kaisen is very popular. The manga might be over, the show might be over, but it's still very popular. Maybe not as popular as it was while the anime was ongoing, obviously, but it's still incredibly popular. People still talk about the characters in good ways or bad ways. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. I personally don't think that, since, like I said, the show is really popular and the aspect of it was really good. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's going anywhere personally. I definitely could be wrong, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if it stands the test of time. So going back to the point, if Bilibili does fumble with this game and that's the only JJK mobile game we ever get, fans are going to be pissed. Rightfully so, because it's like, oh my god, this is the only JJK game that we have for mobile, and now there's not another one. What am I supposed to do? Play Curse Clash, the game that no one plays? Which, speaking of that, that's a great segue into something else. So, like I said, Curse Clash is not that popular, okay? It did not do the best out there, which is very understandable. The game, I said this before, and I'll say it again. When Curse Clash was announced, it looked like an Xbox. Well, sorry, a GameCube game. The models looked really weird. The gameplay was really bad. And yeah, a lot of people didn't like it, obviously, which makes sense because the gameplay was bad, especially for it being a full price game. Like a lot of mobile games that come out in recent years, if the game wasn't $60 fucking, it wouldn't be that bad. But Curse Clash is $60. Even on Steam right now, I'm going to look this up in real time, but I'm positive that it is still $60 fucking, which is ridiculous, by the way. That's a lot of money for a game that is not good, if I'm being completely honest. Yeah, it is still $60. $60. Who is paying $60 for this half-assed game that came out? I'm not, and I don't think any of you should. But anyways, so going back to the point earlier, basically, Curse Clash and this game being the only 2 games that Jujutsu Kaisen has, it's kind of criminal. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty criminal for a show that is as popular as this, for there being only 2 mobile games, to where you got like other shows that have a bunch of other ones that are better than both of them. Since when I think of a Phantom Parade, I just think of Naruto X Boruto, that one mobile game, the one to where it was like for browser too. I can't remember the name. I'll put a picture up if I remember, but I can't remember what else it was called. But it reminds me of that, but done better, if that makes sense. If you know, you know. So yeah, I had something going on, but I think I kind of got lost in the sauce. All right, let me go back to the good path. So the good path of this game is, like I said earlier, they don't axe the game if a character doesn't sell well. They make the game generous, but generous enough to where it's to the point to where essentially, if you wanted to, you could skip out on a character and not feel like you have to spend money for whatever character is coming out. Or since we have the JP version of it, I think you can probably use hindsight to kind of see what's coming out. But if not, then obviously this goes without saying. But in any mobile game you play, you should not feel inclined to have to play or summon for the character that is the most strongest or whatever. You're the one playing the game. If you're not making content on it and you're just playing it for fun, then have fun. Don't summon for characters just because they're the most broken thing ever. If that's your favorite character, then summon for it. If it's not, then don't summon for it. That's the way I play a lot of my games, to where it's like a character could be cool or whatever, but if I don't like that character, there's like a 50-50 I'm not gonna summon for them. Especially if the game isn't like free to play, to where basically if you summon for one character, that's all you have to summon for without having to throw money, which that's how they get you. They release all of these characters back to back, and then you have to spend money for them because they're that good. So that's the bad path that I hope they don't take, but I don't know. I really hope they don't, because in my mind, the only characters that people would be excited for, there's like 4 in my mind right now. Toji, obviously, because everybody likes Toji, okay? Yuta, obviously, once again, the main character of Jujutsu Kaisen before Yuji showed up, so that makes sense. Sukuna, I can't say which variation because that would be a spoiler, but Sukuna and Gojo. So those 4. I'm talking about, like, I can say the variations of Gojo because, you know, I'm talking about like hidden inventory arc Gojo, to where he first, like, you know, became the man that he is today. And I guess, well, no, he didn't really do anything different in Shibuya. So we'll just say hidden inventory Gojo. So if they do that and they have it spread out enough to where it's like, you know, they release Toji for the 1-year anniversary if the game makes it to a year. Toji's the 1-year anniversary, and then I don't know if this game's gonna do like part 2s like how Dokkan Battle does, but if you don't know, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle does a thing to where usually if they release a unit, there's like another counterpart unit to the unit they released. So if they do it that way, they would release Gojo for part 1, and then part 2 would be Gojo basically killing Toji. That variation of Gojo. So they could do that and have it spread out within a little bit of time. So that way, you know, you're able to hopefully get Toji without having to spend a lot of your stuff that's saved up. And then when Gojo comes out, you can summon for him too and have both or one of either of them. So that's the good way. The bad way, which is, once again, something I hope they don't do. Basically, instead of them just doing that, they just say, all right, guys, first month of this game, Toji, Geto, Gojo, Yuta, Sukuna, hidden inventory Gojo, Toji when he came back to life in Shibuya, Megumi when he summoned Maharaga. Like, if they did all of that back to back, there are going to be people who summon for those characters because either they make content or they really want those characters, but it's not going to be a lot of people who do that. And they probably won't make their money back that way until they'll have to kill the servers in like a month or a year. Which, once again, I hope that doesn't happen. But sadly, only time will tell to see what happens. And like I said, in my personal opinion, I give this game about 3 to 4 years for it being alive. Because if they keep this game alive until the anime is over, they have a lot of characters that they can release that would make this game a lot of money. I'm not gonna say what, because I know there are people who haven't read the manga for Jujutsu Kaisen, even though you've probably been spoiled by now about how it ends. But, you know, to the people who haven't, I'm not gonna elaborate on what, but if you read the manga, you know who I'm talking about. So they could do that and make a lot of money if they manage everything correctly, which I hope they do. Because like I've said in my Monster Hunter video about them releasing a mobile game, if companies make more mobile games for stuff, it will make them more money in the long run because, you know, maybe people don't know what Jujutsu Kaisen is. You know, there are people out there who don't know what this is, but they see this game and they're like, okay, well, you know, the combat of the game interests me. So they download that, they learn about Jujutsu Kaisen. They don't play Cursed Clash because that game is a load of ass, but they decide to watch the show, and maybe I don't know. This came out this year. Maybe next year or in 2 years they release Cursed Clash 2, or they release some like a console RPG for JJK. And the people who were playing Phantom Parade were like, "Oh, they're releasing an RPG of JJK. Cool. When that comes out, I'll check it out because, you know, Phantom Parade was managed well and blah, 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 blah." So they give that a shot. And then, you know, they have their eyes peeled out for whatever else Jujutsu Kaisen related. And then, you know, they tell a friend, the friend also goes through the same thing. They tell another friend, and then bam, 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 they make up a lot of money. So it's important. It's important for companies to make mobile games for their shows, animes, whatever, so that way it can have people play the console versions of whatever they're going to release. In my personal opinion. Okay, like I said in Monster Hunter, since there are a lot of people who don't know what Monster Hunter is, and with them releasing a mobile game, they might play that and want to experience, you know, like the console games of Monster Hunter, and they check it out, and they're like, you know, thanks, whatever company's making that. I'm glad you guys made that because now I'm now a Monster Hunter fan. The end. So it just makes sense for companies to do that. And I do think that whatever the name of the company is, I forgot. They have to set an example so that way if another company wants to make a JJK game, they kind of have the blueprints on how to make that game successful. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, I give the game 3 to 4 years, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be longer. I hope that it is. I also do think that if they do collabs with other games, that could also help the game live longer. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. I would love to live in a timeline to where Epic 7 does a collab with JJK. Unison League, even though I don't play it no more, but if they did do a collab with Unison League, I'd definitely come back. I was about to say Puzzles and Dragons, but they already did a collab with Puzzles and Dragons. They did one with Monster Strike. They did one with Rune Story. So you get the idea. You get the idea. This game just has to. I mean, the game and the series just has to do more collabs with stuff, so that way more people can be interested in it and give Phantom Parade a shot. So, with that being said, how long do you think Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade is going to last? Are the points that I made in this video true? Do you agree with them? Is there anything else I could add on? Because if anything, I might do maybe I might make a part 2 of this in a few months when the game has been around for a little bit longer. But I just wanted to kind of get this out. So like I said, the game's been out for a minute and I've had this idea for like a week. So yeah, with that being said, thank you for watching and I will see you all in the next video, whatever that is.